Divock Origi, is he a big-time player or just a bench warmer? Welcome to your Scout Report. Good morning, good evening, or good night. Hope you guys are doing well, and welcome to the Scout Report on Divock Origi. Coming up, we'll show you his heat maps, we'll show you his stats, how he fares against the other strikers, and we'll very briefly this time, because honestly guys, I'm getting bored of going over it, but we'll show you what formations he can fit in. And don't forget, tonight at 8:30, we're gonna see Ant's team, Dino's team, and Ez's team, and I want you guys to scrutinize it on Grumpy Old Reds, kicking off at 8:30 p.m. And don't forget to grab your Worrell shirt signed by the captain himself, and there are some instant win shirts as well from Football Prizes. The link's pinned in the comments below. All right, let's jump into this and let's talk all things Origi. All right, guys, so let's run you through some of his heat maps and some of his stats and how he compares against the other strikers across Europe. And I'll do a quick run through, and then I want to compare him to Taiwo as well, and Chris Wood. I think there'll be some good comparisons there. But as you can see, this was his season at Liverpool, the 18-19 season. And you'll find at Liverpool, he was used quite a lot, more so as a winger and really as a sub than a starter for them. Bear in mind, he was behind the likes of Firmino, Mane, and Salah in and around that period of the Liverpool team. And you can see from this heat map here, it shows clearly that he was quite predominant, that's the word I'm looking for, down that left-hand side with 12 games. But as you can see, only 4 starts, and he still got 3 goals out of it. If we quickly flick through the seasons, you'll see again most of his players down that left-hand channel with 28 games played, only 7 starts and 4 goals. And then let's have another flick through. I think he had one more season with Liverpool there. He played 9 games, 2 starts, didn't get any goals, and then he moves across to Serie A. But no, he had 7 more games at Liverpool with 3 goals and no starts. Then he moves across to Serie A. You can see in his final season at Liverpool, he was starting to kind of go more down the middle than the left-hand side. And with the Serie A team at AC Milan, he played 27 games, only 10 starts, and managed 2 goals. So goal scoring for him has never been his forte. He's not a 15 to 20 striker a season, but he could be. He could be if he started more games. And I don't see him really coming into Forest to be the starter. I think Cooper uses the word having finishers in terms of people he brings on 70 minutes in. And I think Taiwo will still hold the #1 shirt, but he will get a chance during the African Cup of Nations if his form is good, and obviously he is still fit. So overall, I think this is kind of what we needed. Someone on the heels of Taiwo, but Taiwo's probably still going to be our out-and-out first choice #9. But Chris Wood, I think, moves into 3rd place with Divock Origi. Let's compare him to Taiwo so you guys can see how they fare up. And it's quite interesting. Attacking-wise, Taiwo is better. Creatively, Divock is better. Technically, he's better. And in the tackling, Taiwo is better. Defensively, Divock is better. So it's quite close. And I would probably agree with most of those stats. But is it enough of a difference? I don't think the paper shows the difference. I think Taiwo's developed into a great striker, a great #9 right now, an established #9. And I think the paper stats make them look a lot closer than they are, in my personal opinion. Now, if we compare him to Chris Wood, let's bring Chris Wood up. You can see that he's way better than Chris Wood. Better at attacking, creative play, technical play, and about par on defense and tackling as well. So the stats would say that he's #2 in that pecking order of 3. I would agree with that, but I think the gap between him and Taiwo is a lot bigger. But let's break down his stats in more detail at his time in the Premier League. Okay, so here's his Prem stats, and he's had 107 appearances. Let me remind you guys again, a lot of them would have been off the bench, and 22 goals. It's not the worst return, to be honest, from a super sub or a utility player. Whatever bracket he falls under. In terms of the shooting accuracy, though, that does 43, not too bad, could be better in my opinion. And goals per match, I'd ignore that at 0.21 because it doesn't really tell the full story, because it's going against 107 games and he hasn't had that at all. He does cross the ball quite well, and he does take a decent amount of long shots, which I'll show you in some clips in a second. But overall, I think this is a decent backup player. But remember, a player who's played in big games for Liverpool and got some key big goals for them. So occasions won't get the better of him. And I think he's going to surprise a few this season. What do you guys think? Let me know. And if we compare him for last season's stats against the rest of the European strikers, you can see the stat that stands out the most is his progressive carries. At 2.30 per game, it puts him in the 88th percentile, as well as successful take-ons up in the 73%. Not bad, not great. The rest of the stats are just average, if I'm being honest with you. But again, it's about how impactful he can be off the bench. I expect him to get 15 to 20 minutes on a regular basis in games. And why do I say that? Because if we look at Taiwo traditionally, even at Union Berlin, was always subbed off around the 67th to 70th minute. He can tank at times, and we've seen him being subbed off quite a few times throughout this season already, as well as last. It's not so much to do with his injury, it's more to do with the physique. No doubt that lactic acid really must build up with that absolute brick house of a body that he has got. So bringing in Origi, for me, I think is a good bit of business, and there's no risk. He's on loan. We have the option to buy it if he performs well. If not, we can send him back packing. Not a big risk for me at all. But those are his stats. Let's get into a few game clips. All right, so what I want to add to this as we watch the game clips in the background is one, as I mentioned earlier, he does like to take a long shot, but he's also got very quick feet. He can move the ball just like he does there, in and out of his feet, and take it around a defender quite nicely. Nice little step over there, wins a free kick. So he's very mobile. And what I like about this is he brings, that's a lovely goal, that one, isn't it? Bang, finesse, top corner, Henri like. And what I like about it, he brings a different element to what we have with Taiwo, where Taiwo can play with his back to goal a little bit, hold up the play, but then he likes the ball in behind as well. Not the greatest dribbler, but you can see with Origi, he can dribble quite well. He's not afraid to pick the ball up from deep, take a long shot, another fantastic finish there. But don't expect all his long shots to go in. They do end up in the stands at times. But you're going to get a confident player from him. And if we need to use him as a winger, as I've mentioned in previous videos, we're lacking in the wingers department. Now, we've only really got from the ones Cooper will pick from, Callum Hudson-Odoi and Elanga, in my opinion, as a winger. So maybe we might see Origi being pushed out back onto that left-hand side within games, a bit like what we saw Cooper do last season, which I didn't like, with the likes of Ayew and Taiwo at times. But Origi will be much more comfortable doing it. But there you can see a couple of wayward long shots. But this is what I like. He's strong on the ball, and this showed in his stats that I showed you. Those progressive runs forward is because he's not scared to take on the man, as he does it behind my head there, and he's quite confident in his dribbling. I think for him, he needs more game time on the pitch, maybe a run of a few games. And I think the African Cup of Nations will do him the world of good, where he'll get maybe 3 or 4 games where he's the main man up front. I don't think he's better as a winger. I personally like him down the middle. There we go. Lovely effort there again. That open shot from long range is one of his favorites. But don't expect him to start games. The only way I see him starting games is if Cooper goes for some kind of 4-4-2 or maybe a 5-2-1-2 formation. Maybe that's going to be Cooper's attacking option, which we'll move on to in a second. But on a loan, I'll say it again, not bad business at all. Most of our transfers this window have been pretty much spot on. And I think he just fits that gap between Taiwo and Wood perfectly. And I think it's a really good bit of business. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Okay, so let's quickly touch on the formations, and I'm still pretty confident that this will be Cooper's favoured formation, the 5-2-1-2. I don't think Origi starts in it, even though it has the option of two strikers. Cooper may do it in the home games against some lesser teams, you never know, but I don't think we'll see it for a little while he gets up to speed. More so likely, we will see him replacing Taiwo, so I would expect this second person up front, if it's going to happen, to be like an Elanga, maybe drifting out wide, and then Taiwo here. But come towards the end of the second half, I think Origi will probably take over from the likes of Awoniyi and go up front. You'll still see the other shape, the two 6s and the 8s in the middle there. You'll have the 10 probably as Morgan Gibbs-White. We're pretty much going to run through the team in the next day or two, so I'll be able to tell you what I think is going to happen. And also, don't forget, tonight on Grumpy Old Reds at 8:30, you'll get to see the other idiots showing us their teams. So play along and let's see if you've got your teams ready. But this is how he would fit in my opinion, if Cooper was to start with his preferred formation. Now, there are alternatives to it as well, as we've shown you plenty of times, and I don't want to go over old ground, but this could turn into a 3-4-3 with two in the middle and then the wingers pushing up. Again, I would expect to see Origi there. Now, if Taiwo's able to get through 90 minutes, which I don't think is beyond him, what you might see is if Cooper sticks into that 5-2-1-2, that this will probably happen with Taiwo still up there, but Origi coming out wider on the left-hand side there. If maybe he replaces an Elanga or something like that, maybe Taiwo going into the middle. That tends to be what Cooper usually does. Obviously, he did it with Jono more so on the right-hand side. But that's how I see the 5-back formation working with Origi. But I'll say it again, I don't think he's a starter. How does he fit into a back four formation? Well, if we go for a 4-3-3, then potentially it depends on Taiwo again. Either he'll play out on this left-hand side if Cooper makes the change there, or if he subs off Taiwo, it will just be a straight replacement up front as a number 9, which I think is his better position. So rather than running through all the formations again, you guys know them by now, I would say just make the assumption that wherever Taiwo currently plays, Origi is probably going to be the 15-minute change for him towards the end of a few games. So how do I feel about this signing? I think we've got it absolutely spot on. Look, I'm not going to lie, I would have preferred Batman, but between him and Batman, I don't see too many differences apart from Batshuayi scores more goals than Origi. But here's the key to it. You either have to recruit above a player, as in better than them, and I'm talking about Taiwo here, or if you're not going to do that, you need to recruit someone who challenges. Now, up front, it's harder to do because to recruit higher than Taiwo, I mean, what's Taiwo worth now? If he's worth less than 80 million, I'd be surprised. So what we're going to do, spend 90 million on a striker who's potentially going to push Taiwo out and probably devalue him? No, it's not the right time for Forest to be doing that. Therefore, recruiting just below him is the right thing to do. And bringing someone in on loan who's not going to cost us anything, that we can try before we buy, as the saying goes, I think we've got this one spot on. Do I think he's going to have an impact? Yes, I do. I think he will have more of an impact than Chris Wood. I think he offers a different element to Taiwo. He's nimbler on the ball. He can get between the defensive lines. Not as strong, but that's what you need. You want different traits for each player. So when someone comes on, it's not just a like-for-like change. You're doing something to impact the game. And hopefully we can see him get a few really important goals for Nottingham Forest this year. And I think the other important thing about this is he probably has come into Nottingham Forest being told his role. Rock style, man, know your role. And his role will be to deputise for Taiwo. If Taiwo goes on a bad streak, and God forbid that happens, then Origi will be ready to take the step up and try and claim that number 9 shirt. But until that happens, because he knows his role, it actually adds a lot of calmness in the dressing room, that you haven't got any friction between the two strikers. Yes, you want them to be competitive, but if it's clear that Taiwo's 1, Origi's 2, and Chris Wood is, well, at least 3rd, then at least everyone knows who they're pushing for and who they've got to be better. So I do feel that this is spot on. But more importantly, what do you guys think of this signing? Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to go grab your tickets for the Joe Worrell signed shirt. Crypto, I'm talking to you, and we'll be live at 8:30 tonight with those grumpy old Reds. Looking forward to seeing what dumbass teams they've put together. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you're new. We'll see you tonight. Come on, you Reds.